Tim Hensley here, Urban Homestead. Our website is oldvirginiaapples.com, oldvaapples.com. We're here on our front porch. It is July the 8th, and we are sampling some early apples. We have 5 different varieties here we wanted to give a quick talk on and give a sample. I've got Eli here and Aubrey. They're going to sample these along with me, and so we can kind of size up their flavor. This first variety is the Early Harvest, and this is an old American apple. We think maybe it originated up in New York, and it's highly regarded. It's been grown all over the South. This apple will ripen over a period of 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes ripening as early as June 1st. Of the other varieties here, it's probably the sweetest of the ones we have out here. We have also the Yellow Transparent, we have the Red Astrachan, we have the Lodi, and we have another apple called the Henry Clay. The Early Harvest, if you don't want to use a lot of sugar when you're cooking up your apples, the Early Harvest is going to be a good choice. It seems to be widely adaptable, and it's not as tart as the Yellow Trans. Aubrey, see what you think about that Early Harvest there. Eli? Pretty good apple. It doesn't knock you over with being tart, does it? That's quite good. And so if you want a fine early apple with, that's not as sweet as I had hoped it might be. If you want a fine early apple, a good productive variety, Early Harvest is a good one to go for. Well, then we have this Red Astrachan here. And the Red Astrachan dates to about 1835. It was brought here from Russia. The Yellow Transparent is a Russian apple also. It was brought here by the Massachusetts Horticultural Society. And I believe it was old A.J. Downing. He said if you're going to have early apples, you want to have the Red Astrachan and the Early Harvest. And this was once the most widely grown apple in the one of the most widely grown apples in the South. It has a white flesh here, and I sampled this the other day. We have these apples came off of some trees we have growing in our nursery beds. They had some weeds get up around those, and I didn't know they were fruiting. And this Red Astrachan, I think, is a more richly flavored apple. It's still sort of tart, so it's not so much an apple that you're going to be eating fresh. It's definitely a cooking apple. But Red Astrachan is a fine variety. We'd recommend that to you as well. I don't recall seeing any fire blight strikes on that variety. I think it'd do very well in the South. And now we come to the Yellow Transparent. This apple was brought to the United States from Russia in 1870. And you can see here we have 2 of these Yellow Trans. It's the largest of all of these early apples. And I think that's part of what makes it, it gives it so much favor. The largest of the varieties. Yellow Trans does have some susceptibility to fire blight. And you can see here as I'm cutting it, it's a soft fleshed apple, and it'll get mushy if you don't use it right away. Nice thing about that, it cooks up in about 5 minutes. But it's a little more tart than these other varieties. What do you think of that one, Aubrey?
Yeah.
You like Yellow Trans? Is it as good as the others?
I actually think it's a little sweeter than those ones.
Really? It's turning out to be sweeter. Well, maybe he's ripened more on the tree, and we're getting some more sweet. Early apples are like most things that ripen quickly, and they have a coarser flesh, and it's not most of these are not super richly flavored. You can tell we are at the Urban Homestead here. We're right on our front porch and got traffic going by. Most of these don't have a super rich flavor. They've put on their fruit quickly, and it's a coarser flesh, and so mostly these are good for cooking. So there's the yellow trans, and then we come to the Lodi, and Lodi is one of the offspring of yellow transparent. It was crossed with yellow trans was crossed with Montgomery, as I recall, and I suppose the attempt was maybe to get a more disease-resistant type, and have the breeder succeeded in that. You can see it's got a little pink around the center of it. This apple does stand up to it does stand up to fire blight pressure better than its parent, the yellow trans. But most people seem to prefer the flavor and the cooking ability of the yellow trans. To me, that's just doesn't have quite the flavor of the yellow trans, and might even describe that one as a tad mealy. Well, we got one other apple here, and this is the Henry Clay. And here's a distinctively shaped apple. You can see it's ribbed. It has this greenish skin turning yellow, and it has this prominent ribbing around the apple. Stark Brothers introduced this variety, and they pushed it for a number of years as being superior to the yellow trans. Yellow trans is the standard, so this apple is going to be, it's better than yellow trans. And I've never sampled a Henry Clay, so we're all going to get a little taste of this variety this morning. And I bet this apple may be a tad immature here, but
that's pretty good.
Pretty good. All in all, that is richly flavored. That may have the richest flavor of all the ones we've sampled here. What do you think?
Yeah.
Think so?
Mm-hmm.
So here we've made the discovery that Henry Clay may be the apple to get, the one to have. So we've got a stock tree of it, and we're doing some grafts. Again, all in all, early apples tend to not be super flavorful, but there's nothing like that first taste of fresh apple right off the tree. They cook up quickly. I suppose fella could make a pie out of them, but it'd be a soupy pie. But there's 5 early apples. Tim Hensley, Urban Homestead. Our website is oldvaapples.com. Thank you.